Boom, and we are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phase 1 podcast. Spending a little bit of time with my friend Manny Lamson. He is a repeat guest. If you want to go back, check out episode 43, Non-Standard with Manny. It's a great conversation. He shares with us his story, his mission, his message, But I asked him last week if he would spend a little bit of time with me because I genuinely, I'm grateful that I know who you are, first off. Like, I love knowing that there's people out there in the world who hustle and who have a demanding job. They are a family man, and you are a husband, you're a dad, you're an officer, and you hustle. And I respect how you live your life. I respect your values. And I'm just curious, and I wanted to have a conversation where we hit record so you can share a little bit with me about how you live a values-based lifestyle. And then for those that are listening, they get to hear that as well, and hopefully we take a little bit of lessons from you and apply that to our own busy lives. So yeah, man, I appreciate you coming out, and I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna drink my Celsius and drink some water and just listen to you free flow. Just share with us like who you are, what you're about, like what are your values.
Yeah, so thanks for letting me come on again. It's always rewarding. Obviously, when you do a podcast, it's always great to get just to jump on other ones because everybody has a story, and it's always good just to change up the tempo and the pace. And I very value like the fathership role. I started my journey 5 years ago, and so my oldest son is 10, and so I say has seen like both ends of where I was as a father, or am now. I don't know if he really remembers because he was a lot younger, but I still think he probably remembers, I don't know, maybe me just coming home, having beer with dinner, doing my stuff with the squadron. Because at that time, 7 to 5 years ago, I was very much in the mix of being a B-1 aviator, like I was new to the squadron. I was a young guy. And I felt like I had to give a lot more to be part of like the fraternity or the squadron. And so I think in return, that took away from my family, and my wife understood that at the time. Like, hey, man, he's got to fly. That's my main job, and flying takes up a lot of time. And so, Connor, when he was up till 3, I was gone half of his life. I was on 2 deployments, multiple TDYs, and there were times where I was FaceTiming him when I remember Hawaii specifically, in between deployments on TDY, and he was like crying, didn't want to talk to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy right now. Like what is this? And so he has seen a lot of it. So I think the new me that has started the podcasting, started this journey, and really started to focus and dive into the best father I can be, started that 5 years ago when I just focused on me, and as a parent, we all know we have to give to our kids, and sometimes we sacrifice ourselves. That's why, my second leadership philosophy is to be selfless. You have to be selfish. And I started understanding that when I took control of my life. I took control of what I eat, what I put in my body, what I drink, what I read, what I do, what I watch. And I saw it impact everyone around me. Like my son still, goes to the gym now all 3 of our kids go to the gym with us. They know that as part of their life. They know when I go out, like we went to a retirement ceremony down in Lackland, first year guy, and my son went with me. I took him down there for like a father-son thing. And he goes, hey, Dad, you can have a beer. So he sees alcohol as like a celebratory thing, which is really cool, because I grew up with it. And it's not like my dad was an alcoholic, but I just grew up with it around after Friday nights. My dad and his friends would go to Pizza Hut or Round Table at the time and have some beers and just drink pitchers. And it wasn't a crazy amount, but that's just what I saw. And, just now that he sees it as, and I think there's been a really big shift for this young generation in alcohol overall, which is good. But he sees it now as a celebratory thing, and he knows, like when I have a beer, he's like, oh shoot, Dad, like you're having a beer. It's like a shock to him. And I'm like, yeah, man, like this happened or this happened. So that was part of that shift where he saw the wins of that But what it's shown me doing this so late in my life or career per se for my military is where I was, the transition, and where I am now. At the same time, it's hard when people dive into themselves like that because I sometimes feel bad that I waited so long to start. Like 35 is when I started this journey. So I'm always like, man, I wish I would have started earlier. Look where I'd be. But, it's hard to play that game because you just get in your head. But I've also developed this mindset whenever I think like that, it's in one ear and out the other. And I love that concept now. Like whenever something stressful comes into my ear, it doesn't sit in there as long as it used to, where it'd like fester and I'd get anxiety or lose sleep, or it literally just goes right out the other ear. I just think about it. Cool, you didn't do it, but you did it now. It's gone. How can I shift that focus? And so, I hope, that leads into with my kids, where they see stressful situations. And I look at sports because that's, one of the easiest way to see kids in a stressful situation is, where do I see my kids apply this now in a sporting setting where they struggle, they get frustrated, and then maybe it leaves a little bit quicker, than maybe it'd build up or their frustration's a little bit longer. But yeah, so 5 years ago when I started that journey, and when you talk about the foundation it's built for me and how I live my life, my leadership philosophy is how I do everything, everything I take in, getting on podcasts or recording podcasts or heck, even to what I eat goes into those leadership philosophies. If it doesn't align with those four, it's not important, it's come with friendships, it's come with the books I read, what I watch, what I ingest. And so that's been really cool to see. And just recently, I asked my son, hey son, if you were to think of some morals for our family, what would they be? And so we have them written on our board, and it was pretty cool. He was like, hard work. I think we have discipline up there and tell the truth. Some of those things that he's seen now, that because that's what we try to preach. Is hard work. Be honest. And so I had him write down hey, what are some Lamson core values? And he's old enough to understand, so maybe I'll do him a JoJo. And obviously, being a boy, I try to focus more on the manhood stuff. So, I'm reading books on that. It's going to bug me, the book I'm reading right now. But, Modern Day Night. I love that book. I haven't finished it yet, but I love the concept he has in there. So, when my son turned 10, we went and did, a 10-year-old workout with him. I woke him up early. We did a hard workout. I wrote down some core values with him, And so, hopefully, every year on his birthday, we revisit those. And it helps establish those milestones throughout his career where he may know what that transition to manhood is. How do we get there? When does he know he's a man? And that's the least I can do for him, And obviously with Cooper now, our second son, our third kid, he's only 2. So now it's just okay, how do my son and I now portray that on him? How do we show him what that is? Maybe I leave that more on my son to do that, take Cooper under his wing, as a little man. And then we have JoJo, our daughter. That's just, how do I show her a father figure? And I see a lot of good reels of daughters that are just we see that when we live a structured life. We're showing our daughters and kids that level, which is a high standard. It's going to be, I think it's going to be very hard for my daughter, boyfriend, or husband in the future to live up to that, which is good because I want her to choose the best man out there, So hopefully I show her what that is. Is it a high standard? Yes. Unfortunately for those guys out there, they're going to be dang, man, JoJo's great, but then if they come meet me, it's gonna be shoot, I have to live up to that, and or just live up to what JoJo's standards are, which would be really cool. And obviously, you have an older, your daughter's the oldest child, so you're starting to see that develop in there. But yes, yeah, so that's a quick little rundown of how I sort of live, the passion we have, and then my wife, obviously does so much on the side for our kids, just doing everything. She does way more than I do. And so all I can do for her is be the best version of myself, help out around the house, do the small things, just be there when I need to.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. I've just been doing so much self-reflection, in a way, kind of hitting the reset, because your youngest is 2 years old, right?
Yeah, he turns 2 in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our son is 2 months old now, and the discipline, the consistency was foundational in my lifestyle. And the day after he was born, I needed to cut the run streak. I'm not going to leave my wife to
Yeah.
go run 6 miles because I conditioned myself to do it. But I really hung on to those 6 miles as it was almost like I held on to it too much in a
Mhm.
way that I wasn't really willing to let it go because I thought, well, if I can run these 6 miles every day, then I can take on the rest of the day. So what I was failing in that I didn't really recognize was my ability to adapt.
Yeah.
And when our son was born, that's just going to happen. So it was a bit of a shift for me the first few weeks to really figure out like how am I going to incorporate physical training into my daily routine when I need to take care of my wife who just
Hmm.
had a child and take care of a baby. And at first it was, my lifestyle is going to look a little bit different. Maybe I don't give myself the time, the hour plus to train in the morning. Maybe it's like a mile.
Yeah.
Like if I can get 6 miles by the time I
Yeah.
go to bed, you know, or sometimes it was like a high intensity workout or something, but it, it just was very different. And I also didn't have the high intensity in me. It was complete drainage. I was just fighting for my life, but it was tough. It was really tough for me because yeah, I really just thought that if I can show up for myself first thing in the morning before I show face to the rest of the world, if I volunteer for that discomfort and I work through it, then those who are around me, they get a better version of me.
Yeah.
And it was such a shift to have to pivot and adapt um, to show up for my family.
Yeah.
So that's when I started thinking about the difference between balance and priorities.
Yeah. That's a good.
And I was thinking, does balance actually exist?
Yeah. I don't. So like the people I listen to and read from, most I say successful and hustlers don't believe in balance. I like priorities. That's a great word to use. Like I always bring up Matthew McConaughey's podcast with Ed Milet because he
Mm,
talks about he has like his 5 cards and he talks about like red, yellow, green on his priorities at the time. And he talks about obviously being an actor. He has finance, acting, friends, family, and I think health maybe is one of them. And he's like sometimes his acting will be in the green, right? Because that's what his priorities are. And friends may dip in the red because they're not a priority. But when the film's done, he knows it's in the red and he can bring it up to a yellow with his friends, like reach back out to him for a priority. Like, hey man, sorry I lost touch. How you doing? Or like if his fitness falls in the yellow, he can do that. So that's how I look at all that. And that's what I try to explain to people. And I also believe we think too condensed on priorities and balance in a time frame when it should be a macro version, like 6 months to a year priorities. A lot of people look at balance and go like, today I'm going to balance all this, or this
mm,
week I'm going to balance going to the gym 5 times. Um, maybe I don't know, not eating. So we're too condensed. Like I prioritize a year. So like let's say obviously with a baby or a kid or like summer, like right, kids as a father, your summertime priorities those 3 months is going to be family because your kids aren't in school, so they need something to do.
mhm,
When they're in school, then your kids priority can go down because they're in school. Then you can maybe bump up your fitness while they're at school, or your personal development or your business. Like those are 3 to 4 months at the beginning and ending of the year. Um, and it all ebbs and flows like vacations, right? Like when am I going to take a vacation? That's a good family time. So I look at my priorities throughout like the year, and um, I keep them pretty green um, because I think I've developed a very good routine to give my time intentfully when I give it. Like obviously my mornings, if let's say I know my family time has fallen down, I can easily just invite my kids to gym with me and I can bring it back up and still work my fitness. Like tomorrow morning, I have airmen coming over to my house. I'm going to ask my kids tonight, like, hey, do you want to come to gym with me in the morning? Because sometimes I love when the airmen come over. That'll boost my family time, right? And my fitness time and my relationships and business time all in one area. Some people think you can only do one at a time. I think that's what gets a lot of people. They think I can only do fitness. Boom. From like 5 to 6. And then like when they come home from work, they can only do family. I think that's where it gets a lot of people. I combined a lot of them.
Yeah.
I combined business, family, fitness, like in the morning. In the afternoons, obviously as a parent, like it's chaotic. So it's more just family. Obviously we include our kids in fitness, but then I can also include my fitness and my family for my kids as a practice. I can, like when my son has football practice on Tuesdays, he has it at a house. I do a mile walk for 15 minutes up and down the driveway. Then I eat my food and I read while in there because it's an hour and a half long dang football practice. That's improved my business because I'll make some reels. It includes my fitness. It includes my family time. So like I take advantage of those times as well. And then at work, I prioritize there. I have sometimes during my day at work where I will take my lunchtime and work out. So like fitness and work. And I think that's where a lot of people can capitalize on in combining them.
Yeah, that's really encouraging because, side note, I'm going to try my best not to hack up a lung. I've been fighting them for like last 2 weeks. So if you're watching this, I'm okay. I'm not collapsing. I'm just trying not to die. There's a few things that you said that I want to circle back to, but I will say first that is very encouraging to hear about what you've read from successful people that have an opinion on the difference between priorities and balance. I think it was a few years ago, there was a commander that came by and his speech to us was saying, I think part of it, he said, listen, like balance doesn't exist. And at the time I wasn't really ready to receive that. But now, as I've started to consider the fact that balance may not exist, but eliminating that, it's like freedom in my brain, because then I only focus on my priorities. But I am in the box that you were talking about for people that, well, I'll just speak for me. I compartmentalize everything to a 24-hour period because, I mean, I'm 34 years old and God is gracious enough up until this point to give us tomorrow. Like the sun has come up every single day.
Yeah,
So
true.
I'm conditioned to know that the sun will come up tomorrow. But another part of me is like, I don't know when I'm going to die.
It's true.
So looking at this list of priorities, how can I show up, like you said, in I don't know how to say the word, with intention.
Yeah.
With intention. I love that. That's what I wanted to get back to.
That's what I try to focus on so much. Everything I do, it's intentional. Like all the conversations I have with airmen, intentional. Like I started doing a conversation book now where I write down all the conversations I've had with anybody after to remember. Like tonight, I have to write down all the conversation I had with airmen on the base 5K today because I met a lot of great airmen out there and I can't forget them. And so it's intentful, and it helps, because then anything I do, if it's not intentional, like my workouts, or what I'm like watching on social media, like if it's garbage, I have to catch myself first, so I'm like, oh, hey, I'm scrolling a little bit too deep right now. It's not intentional, like sometimes I'm scrolling to gather content, right? Because it's really easy to get content when you're just scrolling and see what's popular. But then if it's too much, it's not intentional. Same with emails, I just think conversations is the big thing. Like a lot of the conversations I have, there's a priority to it with an intention of why am I talking to this person or why am I speaking, more importantly, because they should be speaking to me if I'm having a conversation. So I need to be intentional on if I say something and should I be saying something. So
right. Yeah, I think for me, showing up, especially in relationships, I want there to be intent with the conversation. I always want to be as present as
Yeah.
possible. And there's something else that you said I want to get back to. It's escaped me at the moment. Hopefully it comes back. Yeah, just being present. And there it is. What I like to think of is like whatever I'm putting inside my brain or my body, is it adding or subtracting value
Yeah.
to my
Oh
life?
man. Yeah.
And I think it's along the same lines probably. If
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
break,
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's how, like I talked about with my leadership philosophy, right? Everything I journey into, does it align with those, my values, my leadership philosophy to keep me moving forward, right? Is everything I do in moving me forward? Yeah, and so there's a lot of things I try to do to make sure they're all pushing me forward. You know, like, is this run going to push me forward towards my goal? You know, yes. Is this book going to push me forward? Is, this email that I'm having with this person going to move us forward? Or do I need to send an email, yeah, and that's always important because some people will do a lot of things to feel accomplished, but they're not intentional or moving them forward. So they feel like they should be moving forward because they're so busy. But just because you're busy, like most people know, doesn't mean you're productive.
exactly.
I can be very productive in 3 hours in the morning at the office than probably most airmen can be in 8 on a computer. I've established, my kids know I'm really good at emails. Like my son, unfortunately, my son knows most of my jobs is email. Like I'll literally come home, like, Dad, what'd you do today? I'm like, damn, I wish I had something cool to say, dude. He's like, did you do emails? I was like, yes, I did all day, but I'm pretty good at it. And
Yeah.
I can be very productive in a short amount of time, accomplishing Queep stuff to allow me more time to do other things.
Right. And I'm glad you said those exact words because that's exactly what I was thinking is we can be busy
Yeah.
while also being unproductive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I always want to be productive with what I'm doing. And as long as it's adding value to my life and it's in line with my priorities, which really are because we're talking about priorities, I think it's fair to talk about what mine are.
Yeah.
Faith, family, fitness, and I guess, I mean, those are the three that I have in my mind. But at the same time, what I'm also doing with my life is well, it would have to be work. It has to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if work is the word that I want to use or like hustle because
Yeah.
I'm building a business. And while I've been on baby leave, like that's been my focus. But right before we got on the podcast, I was at the office because I needed to sign some enlisted performance briefs, annual reports for some of my airmen. But that was my focus while I was there, and that can get a little tricky with prioritizing where my productivity needs to be because I can be in the sear shop where I need to be earning my paycheck for the military, but sometimes mentally I'm thinking, oh wait, hold on, like for phase one, trying to build this thing. So
Yeah.
that's where I'll sometimes like to help me mentally shift. I just tell myself like, put your hands on the table, and it's just an act. You know, I think it helps me mentally by
Yeah.
visually looking at something and being like, hey, you got to shift your focus because I feel really well. First off, I have responsibilities, and I need to earn my paycheck accordingly, and I need to take care of my responsibilities while I'm at work. And this time away from the sear shop has been helping me like, kind of, I guess, re-engage with what I'm prioritizing and realign my values. So I am excited next month when I go back to work to be present at work and then when I come home, I can build the business, before or after. Um, yeah, very early in the morning and then later at night before bed. But anyways, kind of went on a side tangent. I was talking about my values, faith, family, fitness, and we'll just call it job.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about being present and doing things that add value. Something that I cut out of my life a few years ago when I just felt like I was just distracted and lost. I cut out TV, got rid of it. Well, now, like, my wife and I will watch her shows, or we'll watch like a documentary. And sometimes I'm like, oh, well, what value is this adding to my life? Like, well, maybe I'm not watching something that is increasing my brain power or my knowledge, but I do prioritize my relationship with my wife. So we're going to sit down. We're going to watch this thing. It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
So I do look forward to that. So I think like that's something that I'm recognizing too, is it's not all about the things that I want to do. When I prioritize my family, what is it that they want to do?
Yeah.
And showing up and being ready at a moment's notice to just be present with my family in their arena. Like my daughter was with us this last weekend. I think it was earlier this week. We just got a pit boss smoker.
Oh,
and
nice.
Yeah, oh my gosh. It's game changer. This summer is going to be so awesome. But we were smoking steak, and we were out there in the backyard, and my daughter Nova, she's like, Dad, let's play tag. I want you to chase me. And I'm in like Birkenstocks, and it's like, well, I'm not going to say no. When my daughter says chase me, what I don't want is her growing up and say, Dad never chased me. I don't want to be the guy who runs, about an hour in the morning just for me, but I won't chase my daughter when she wants me to. So, yeah, I think what I'm recognizing in this chat is how challenging it can be in a way, personally, to like be in my family's, like, their arenas. But I guess through this verbal process, I am recognizing that I do show up for them in their spaces, and that gives me comfort as a dad and as a husband too, because sometimes I just feel like I'm the most selfish person on planet Earth.
I think people with drive and purpose and passion probably do feel selfish in a way, but I think you talked about being in your family's air arena, and so like there's times I have to sit back and do that as well. Like my son loves his shows, he loves playing his games on the weekend, so sometimes when I see family time, it's not me calling everybody to go do something together. It's, well, let me just go sit in the TV room and watch my son play Fortnite. Like that's in his arena, and even though we may not talk, or it may just be for 5 or 10 minutes, at least I'm there in his arena. And if you want to say something or show me something, or sometimes we'll just play MLB Home Run Derby, or something little like that. Because I think they do remember those little moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's not every moment, but it's like those little moments. And so that's what I try to give them, is all those little moments, like, so they know when I'm at their practices, I may not be watching them all the time like some parents watch their kids. So they may think like, oh, my dad's not watching me. But they know when I do watch them, I'm intentional watching them in their arena. But when I'm walking or reading and they look up and I may be reading, at least they know like, oh, he's being productive, or he's doing that. But then I'm always still making sure, it's not just me and them. I can balance, or I guess prioritize back and forth on what I'm doing. The meeting in the arena is good. TV is, I was just thinking about that a couple weeks ago. I was like, man, how much TV do I watch in a week? And in the morning, I watch maybe 30 minutes after I get done with all my routine stuff before I hit the gym, just like finish my pre-workout and get ready. And so like there's maybe 30 minutes. Whenever I run on the treadmill for more than an hour, I just put a TV show on. So that's like me zoning out on the treadmill. So I'll watch maybe an hour there. We always have our Thursday night Survivor. That's like our family arena time.
Sweet.
And then evenings though, man. Yeah, like you said, the wife, like we have like TV shows she'll try to find where I'll watch with her. But other than that, it's probably no more than 6 hours a week.
Yeah.
If I were to add it up, which is pretty crazy to think like how much TV I probably used to watch.
Yeah.
But it's always on in the background because we have Elmo and like SWAT and the Rookie going on like 24/7 in our house.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, and I think, well, for me, the reason I cut out the TV is because I knew that I was only watching it because I wanted a distraction from what I was going through that I didn't want to take accountability for. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have a tangible understanding of humility and accountability. So, I would just look for something to make me laugh, you know? So now looking back on it, I guess looking back on it, like that's why I cut it out. But now whenever I watch it, it's always with intention. And, if anything, like, cool, I get to sit on the same couch with my wife and just like, be in the same room with her. So, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right about kids remembering the little things. My 6-year-old, on what I would call a regular basis, she reminds me, even just a few days ago, she's like, Dad, remember that time that you ran up to me in the middle of your race? And she's talking about, I don't know if you've heard of it, but the Knicksu run that the SEER team puts on every year in June. And it's just to honor fallen SEER specialists. Is very special, near and dear to my heart. And it's become a family tradition, and that makes me so excited. It fills my soul. But I mean, she's 6 now, so at that time, I mean, she's been going since she's 3 years old. And I've got pictures holding her at the halfway mark, at the finish line, and she just remembers that stuff, and it just makes me emotional. It makes me happy. Because I was telling my aunt yesterday, I was helping her with some house projects, and I told her I always want to be ready to say yes to my children if they ask me, Dad, do you want to run an ultra marathon with me?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be healthy and strong enough to say yeah. So, gosh, it almost puts pressure on me in I would say a good way, because I'm conditioning my children to see this version of their dad, and just normalizing. I think fitness is too small of a word.
It definitely is, yeah.
Yeah, normalizing I love to say volunteering for discomfort.
Yeah,
They get to see that act, and then they get to see that perseverance. I think of it more as values. Sure, for a young kid, they're seeing, well, I don't even know if they understand what fitness means. Like,
yeah, that's a great thing. I might ask my kids one day, like what is fitness to you? Like, I'm about to start doing random tangent, small clips where I just sit down and just ask my kids just some random questions, and get them on sort of a record, where it's just like, I just ask them like some questions like that, like, what is, exercise? Why do you do it with me? Like, hopefully they're not like, because you make me, which sometimes I do, because I want them to get uncomfortable. But then maybe, that's a great question.
Yeah. And even, for me, I think it would be enlightening, or I guess, I don't know the word. I'm curious if I just ask my daughter, like, what do you see me going through when you go into the garage? and see me in the
Yeah.
morning? Like, what are you seeing me do? Why do you think I do that? And just trying to keep it vague.
Mm-hmm.
But she knows it, when she comes to visit. She's with us 2 weekends out of the month, and she wakes up pretty early, but she always knows, and she'll ask me. She keeps me accountable too. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, "Did you get your run in this
Yeah,
morning?"
dude, exactly. My son knows every Friday when I do my 9 miles, he'd be like, Dad, are you gonna do your 9 miles today? Or like when we travel, when we went to camping last weekend, he's like, Dad, you can do your 9 miles? I'm like, dang, dude, yeah,
Mhm.
I'd better do my dang
Mhm.
9 miles.
Yeah.
He has a Garmin, and we
Yeah.
compete with each other on steps every day. He'll come back from school.
Mm.
He'll be like, how many steps you got today? I'm like, well, I did run this morning, son. He's like, ooh, okay. But we compete in our steps, and yeah, they
Yeah.
hold you accountable.
Yeah, that's so cool. I used to think, well, for a long time, I would say like the only person that can hold you accountable is yourself. And then I just caught myself. I'm like, well, actually, your kids too. You know, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I am human. I say things that I believe in the moment, and then I blink a few times and I think something different. This, that's how I operate sometimes. So, but it's all forward progress. Um, yeah, I did want to talk to you about something I've been thinking about for some time, for a few months, is progress. Because you and I are both are legionnaires in the first form
Mm-hmm.
program. Well, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because you put on events and you've got first form products there all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So for those that aren't familiar with first form, first off, it's an amazing, it's a genuine, real community of real
Yeah. Oh,
people.
man.
Yeah, we can talk about it for a
Yeah.
long time, but it's real people who want real results, and they're doing real work, and it's just a beautiful, amazing group of people who hustle and are continuously, well, I say relentlessly, chasing progress.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I just am so curious about progress. Like, what are your thoughts on progress, and why is it important to pursue?
I know you're good.
Oh, all good.
That was one of the kids sneaking in there. Um, yeah, so the progress.
Mm-hmm.
So in 22, I had a lot of progress to move forward to because in 21 is when I started 75 hard, working on myself. 22 was like me testing the progress. So I tested it in my first marathon, my first half Ironman, like the physical progress stuff. Now that I don't do a lot of those anymore, my progress is measured in always being ready. Like that, and it's a hard progress to have because you never get there. Um, Now there are some physical progresses I have, but I think my progress also aligns with my priorities. Do I have progress in my family priorities? What is my progress there? Is it a certain amount of time I spend with my kids a day, or sporting events I go to? And my let's just say my finance work. What is my progress there for my priorities? Is it how many sales I get in a month? How many first time customers? How many first one events I have? Then that is that progress. And my fitness, that's a big scale, like my wife and I are doing a high rocks this year. For me, that's not as much as a progress because I can do a high rocks, but it's something I can progressively aim towards. Um, and then next year my progress is a full Ironman, and then a 100 miler the year after that. So there's that progress. My faith is always a progress because I don't do good on it. So like there's always that progress of just reading a little bit a night. Like I got a book by Tony Dungy. It's like a Bible verse a day, but it's in his concept. So it's like a sports Bible thing. So it helps me like get a little more motivated to read it,
Mm-hmm.
but there's progress there. So I think what I ended up saying is progress aligns with my priorities.
Mm.
And a lot of airmen always ask me what are my fitness priorities because that's what I love so much. And for me, it's now going to be 100% a year, right? Like, can I maintain that? Which I should be able to, obviously, since I maintain that fitness level. But that's a tangible I can hold myself to. But sometimes 100% are hard because it's hard for me to do more than 100%. I can count the reps myself, but there's that. And then work, my progress in the military work-wise is continuing to be a valid aviator to the B1 community, so continuing my tactics and learning there. Being the other job I have, at the wing, being productive there. So I think that covers that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes I just appreciate the perspective because
Yeah.
I guess sometimes, I could be in like a rut and I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I've already achieved my goal. So what am I pursuing in life? But if I think about the opposite of pursuing progress, it would be, I don't know if regressing is an actual word, but that's what I think is like regressing or sliding back. Like if those are my two options, I would never want to slide back.
Yeah.
I would never want to, fall backwards. So I think of progress as, maybe I think it's okay in certain seasons to not have a specific goal that you can see or that you can describe, but I think of it more as like an image of like a trail. I think of like a single track trail in the middle of the wilderness, and single track for a specific reason. Like that's the track for the family. And maybe I don't have a specific goal or I'm not trying to reach a specific point at this current moment in time, but if we continue hand in hand, as a family on that single track trail, there's memories, and I think that's something that gives me hope is, well, if I continue to pursue progress, which to me progress is like parallel with health. Like I'm pursuing holistic strength, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So it's just, it may not, to me, I wouldn't say that I'm in a season of like relentless forward progress, but in my soul, I don't want to be moving backwards.
Yeah.
I think right now it's I don't actually know. I think that's why I was part of why I was excited to have this conversation is because I don't always know like what the next thing is, and I don't always have like a passion for things that I used to have. It's different. Like my passion for running, it started to fade when I crossed the line for my first 100-mile trail ultra. And then I think my passion for running died when I crossed the line of Bigfoot 200. But I do think that I recognize that my passion for running died, but it became a tool. And I think like that it means so much to me. Running, I can't, like, as long as God allows me the strength, enough strength that I'm never going to be perfect, but like if I can persevere, then I'm going to keep going. And every single day that run is work.
Yeah.
It's real work. It's a real struggle and it's real perseverance, but I use running as a tool because it can make me show up better for my family as a husband, as a father, and then for my coworkers as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just kind of something I've been thinking about. Maybe the passion's gone, and that's okay because I'm still doing it and still growing. So maybe that's encouraging to someone.
Yeah, one thing you made me think of is, and you're probably familiar with the power list, but for those that don't know, another way to achieve progress without a goal is doing a few simple things a day to at least keep the needle moving forward. Just like you talked about, right? You don't want to go backwards. So how do I not go backwards but move forward but not know where I'm going? Just do a few simple tasks a day to where when you get done with the day, you move forward. So that's why I still, and I'm pretty sure you are very familiar and you use the power list every now and then to keep you in check. Like, You know, like I love the power list. You know, I love that simple win in the day in case I don't know exactly where I'm going. At least I can be like, well, I won the day, you know. And
Mhm.
I do love the saying, it's not about the win, it's win. You know, it's not about the WHEN, it's the WIN because too many people
Mhm.
focus on when they're supposed to hit that goal, not hitting the goal. And
Yeah.
so a lot of goals I set, I don't put a timeline on. I may put like a no later than time,
Hmm.
but I don't put a date because I can't control that. Like that's way out of
Yeah.
my time. If I can just get there, I'll get there. You know,
Hmm.
obviously fitness events are pretty set in stone. Like I can't say when I'm going to do the Dallas High Rocks, but I know exactly when the Dallas High Rocks is going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Um, but I can always, you know, but yeah, that's why I love the work I'm in because I will get wins randomly, you know, and those wins
Mhm.
can come from airmen that reach out to me on TikTok, you know, where I get those little messages like, "Hey, sir, I watched your video. I started exercising more. I've been following you for your year. I'm going to put in for an OTS package." I'm like, "That's the win." I didn't
Yeah.
know when it was going to happen, but it did. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
those wins mean more than me than those airmen think when they send me those little messages.
Yeah.
So I save them, I savor them, I share them to let people know, like, hey, that stuff matters. You know, like I am very
Mhm.
intentional with most of the stuff I post on my TikTok because I believe it is a value on social media. You know, like I was just talking to some airmen today. They're like, dude, you can go get like thousands of followers, you know, if you wanted to. I was like, yeah, I could throw out clickbait, you know, and make ridiculous videos or memes and get the followers, but that's not my intention on TikTok. You know, my intention is to build real long-term relationships on TikTok. Like
Mhm.
all the people that follow me, I hope follow me based off of my content, you know, not just off of one random video, you know, um, and so that's where I pride myself in those conversations I get on. I have so many conversations on TikTok that are just like relationships, you know, and they lead to other aspects in the first form app or just them doing things like, or they meet with somebody else. Like I have so many people from other branches ask me how to become an officer. Like I had a guy in the Navy be like, "Hey, sir, I want to do this path in the Navy." I was like, "Whoa, I don't speak Navy, but I know a chief in the Navy. Let me send you his way." And I hit
Yeah.
this guy up like every week. I'm like, "Hey, dude, I got another guy coming your way." He's like, "Send it." I'm like, "Cool."
Cool. Thanks a lot.
But yeah, so that's where I find the wins there. So
Yeah. That's so big. Sometimes I get in these ruts where I'm thinking, you know, it may sound silly, but I think it's appropriate, especially for me. And if this is how I need to go about it, then it's the way. But I am constantly evaluating my relationship with social media. What is my relationship with social media? Why, what's the intention? Why am
yeah,
I posting what I'm posting? Sometimes people, and I think it's okay. I think I can be a bit of a mystery sometimes with what I post, and there's a degree of vague. Yeah, some most of what I post, there's a little bit of mystery, and it's supposed to be thought provoking,
yeah,
but there's intention behind all of it, and it has been shifting. I have been shifting from what I've thought of as a performance based lifestyle, and now I'm really focusing on a values based lifestyle. So I was posting the result. Like I want
yeah,
people to
yeah,
see the numbers. But what I've been shifting to, instead of showing people the result of a 6 mile run on my watch, I want people to see like me sitting on my treadmill.
yeah, yeah,
That's the same result,
yeah,
but it's more values based because internally I know what I volunteered for, I know what I worked through, and like that's enough for me. But when you were talking about the just the amount of conversations that you have that are healthy relationships on social media, like those are huge wins. Sometimes I get people who I wasn't really expecting to
yeah,
hear from, and they say, like, I see what you're doing, and
yeah,
what you're doing is inspiring. And I'm like, oh, bro, you just gave me another year of life. Like,
yeah. I know.
let's go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about, one more theme, and I wanted to bring this up with you specifically because I think you'll be able to relate to it because of the SEER training that you've been through. But I've been thinking about the burden of being a husband and being a dad and being a good man. I think that there is a heavy burden to be a good man. And if you can go back into your SEER training, you think about the burden that you and I have both needed to carry to endure that training and to see it through and to make it up to the next peak and, to make it, onto the graduation stage. There's always been a heavy burden that we've been given. And what's interesting about a burden is if I'm carrying 45-pound sandbag and it's laying on the ground and I'm dragging it through the ground with a rope, that's going to feel a lot more uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But if I take that sandbag and I manage it different, I throw it on my shoulders, I manipulate it in a way where I can manage it more effectively, I'm going to be able to go so much further with that burden. So I think of the burden that I feel emotionally or mentally or even physically as a husband, as a dad, just being a good man, being a good coworker. Like, there is a heavy burden, but I do think that if we, instead of think of it as too much of a burden, we recognize it as we are strong enough, we are capable enough to take this burden that we've been given, manage it accordingly, we're going to find out how strong we are. And we're going to be able to look around and see the result of how we carried our families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
a thought that I had. I wanted to share it with you.
Doing a lot like that we do is definitely burdensome. Like there are plenty of times where people are always just like, dude, Manny, why do you do this? Why do you do that? You don't need to do this, and at the same time, I could easily not do half the things I'm doing. I could not do a podcast. I could not do 2 workouts a day. I could not do reading and still be productive father or husband, but once you go down that road or climb that mountain or put that pack on your back, you're all in, man. Like, you were all in. Like, going through SEER training, you were all in every time the ruck was on your back. Like, you couldn't half-ass it. Like you said, I couldn't tie the rope or the pack to a rope because I was all in on putting it on my shoulders and getting up that mountain. I think that's what SEER taught me the most. Every time I look at where I'm at, I always go to the 5-year mark, but then I always look like, how did that guy 5 years ago even think about doing what he wanted to do or start that journey? And it goes back to SEER because SEER taught me grit, and grit has gotten me so far in life. Like I was the second youngest in my class. I came from a bubble town of like middle of California. I had just no life experiences. I was just this young kid. I was naive. I think naive got me through a lot of being naive. Not knowing what was going on in the world. Spokane was the biggest place I moved to when I got up there. Like, I never drank before I got to Spokane. Like, I was like the bubble boy. And so SEER taught me the grit, like I didn't have grit when I was growing up. I was a hard worker, playing high school sports, but it wasn't gritty, I was just doing what my coach told me, following rules. And so SEER taught me to carry the burden, but like always carry the burden, like never just take the shortcut, or the easy road or walk on the road, right? Like, it definitely set the tone for when I turned 35 to start that journey, that new mountain, And so now I'm at that point where there are definitely a lot of people that just keep questioning, like why I do all this, And I look at it now as like, if I stop, I show my kids like that they can stop, and I don't want that. I need my kids to grow up and see anything is possible. Starting a journey at 35, starting a podcast, starting or like being comfortable retiring when I do. There are a lot of people who retire from the military that they are not comfortable with it. They struggle with it. They are not ready because they don't know what to do with the next burden. I need to show my kids when I get out of the military, like, I'm ready for the next burden of life. I will carry it. I will put the military behind me as like a motivation, but it's not what I'm carrying anymore. I'm carrying something else. The workouts I do, when I'm all in, and it's every day. Like, that is super hard. But I can't stop now because they see it as a standard. Like, my kids see that as a standard. So if I go back on it, like, what am I showing them? Like, I'm showing them what everybody else is showing them, unfortunately, but I don't want to show them that. I need to show them something else. They see so much of this normal, comfortable life everywhere they go. The friends, the kids' houses the friends of my kids' houses they go to, those parents are living comfortable lives. I hate, unfortunately, sometimes when they ask to go over there because they're showing them things I don't want to show them. But as long as I can show them all this here, they know that that's not the right path. It could be comfortable, it could be easy, but like, and that's like that's also the downside of doing everything I do. No other parent that my kids are friend with lives up to my standards. Like, my wife and I talk about it so much. It's crazy. Like, we're like, oh, Connor wants to go to this guy's house again. And I'm like, oh, their parents are freaking lazy. Like, they eat McDonald's or they do all this stuff. Like this. And I'm like, okay, well, Connor really likes that kid, like, whatever, maybe hopefully I've set the tone for him to not take any of those habits. But then I think a lot of parents don't like to hang out with me or talk to me because I also heard another quote listening to a podcast where, and I think I made a TikTok on it, disciplined people don't like excuses, man. And I do not put up with excuses anymore as I used to. And I think it shows sometimes when parents talk to me, man. I feel so bad. Like, because obviously a lot of those parents follow me on social media and Facebook, and all they do is see me working out. So, like, when they try to complain to me about something, I'm just like, cool. Like, what do you want from me? Like, I'm not going to give you sympathy, man. Like, and that's a hard burden, right? Like, but then I need, like, my son knows, like, when we go to basketball practices, he could easily look at me and go, man, my dad could probably come out here and whoop these guys, like. My dad could go on this men's flag football. Like, I think my son said it because there's men's team that play after his flag football, and he goes, Dad, man, you'd be out there just like running circles around those guys. I was like, yeah, I know, but I need them to have their glory. Like, I'm good over here, like yesterday, the burden of running so much, I asked my kids about the base 5K. I was like, what should I do? They're like, win. I'm like, damn it. I put that burden right there on them, but I got third. I set my fastest 5K. I put the pedal down, that's the burden that I carry with that. And it's fun though too, because I'm pretty sure my kids tell every kid they know that I'm the strongest and fastest and like whatever dad is around. So
yeah, and it's such a beautiful responsibility too. My daughter, when she says, like, she's told me before, she says, Dad, you're the best. Like, you're gonna win because you're the best.
Yeah.
And I haven't won any race that I've done, but I show up and I give my best effort.
Yeah.
And the result is that my daughter sees a strong man, and I know, like, when I wake up, like, my back hurts, everything's crapping, whatever. I'm like, yikes, like, give it a little bit of time. Things will buff out. It'll probably be okay. But it is a burden, and it's a beautiful one, and it's one that I'm so willing to carry.
Yeah.
And what you were talking about with your experience with Sear and the introduction to grit, that resonates so much with me, and sometimes I don't give it enough credit.
No, yeah. We just thought it was part of the job, like, we just thought we were just doing the thing, like, one foot in front of the other.
Yep. And when I started my ultra journey, sometimes I think, like, oh, I just was in this, I was in a state of despair. At that time, I was in a state of hopelessness. But also, what I forgot was how much grit I established.
Yeah.
And in 2015, when I went through SEER voluntarily, I learned like how strong I can be. So I think sometimes, give ourselves a little bit of compassion. We may be in a little bit of a low spot, but I don't know if I said it. Oh, I was talking with a coworker earlier, and I was saying that I believe the strongest version of ourselves is at the other end of the most discomfort that we are willing to endure. So if we just continue to be willing, be audacious, be courageous and daring, a little bit reckless, if we need to be, there's hope at the other end, and we get to find out how strong we are, and our family gets to see a standard of who we can be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you talk about with, going through the discomfort is, a lot of people may think we only talk about physical like discomfort, but it can be like mental, spiritual, right? Like my spiritual discomfort is getting, like reading the Bible, it's like that is my discomfort because I know it's a struggle, but then at the end, it'll bring more. Same as reading, right? Like the discomfort for some people may just be reading one page. So it doesn't always have to be like a physical discomfort that some people may think, where they're hearing this and go, well, I don't want to exercise, it's okay, cool. We'll find those other discomfort areas to lead you to that growth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. I'm glad you said that because I don't talk about that enough. I also don't recognize it enough. Sometimes I think that the discomfort that I volunteer for in the beginning of the day, what I would like for it to do is generate momentum so that I can be uncomfortable to take on the rest of the day's challenges. So that is good. And I do want to reinforce that momentum as I'm training in the morning, show up, and maybe what's uncomfortable is having the conversation with your spouse, or maybe even just telling them you love them, or telling your kid you love them, or sitting down and just looking at them and telling them like, I see you, I'm with you, I love you. Maybe it's uncomfortable as a parent to show emotion, or I speak as a man, maybe as a father, it could be uncomfortable to look at our children and show that raw, genuine human emotion. So I want my kids to see me cry. If I'm sad, I want them to see it because it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet, man. Well, I appreciate you accepting the invitation to come on back and have a quality conversation. This was no script. It just was me reaching
There's some
out.
good nuggets from it, man. It
was good.
It was nice.
It was so good. Yeah. I really appreciate it. But before we hit stop for the conversation, just want to ask you, is there anything you have in terms of words of encouragement for anyone who's listening that's going through a tough time?
I just think tough times are going to happen, and I think we probably talked about this on the last time, but when you can mentally know you're going to go through a tough time, when you hit that tough time, it's not as tough. Some people have a hard time with tough times because they think their life is supposed to be comfortable and easy. So they get thrown off guard when a tough time happens. But if I know, right, a tough time is bound to happen, when it happens, I can tackle it a lot smoother. So if someone's going through a tough time, no, it's happening for a reason, right? Like literally everything happens for a reason, like you may not think, that the Lord has his reasons, but he does. I really love the expression, we are put through tough times because he knows we can handle it. So hopefully that resonates with somebody. If they're going through a tough time, it's because he knows what's on the other side for you and you will get through it. Like when I didn't get selected for TAC PO and I freaking bawled my eyes out and I was super mad and frustrated, first thing my wife told me was like, everything happens for a reason. And then I also knew he put me through that to test me, maybe because I hadn't failed at something in a long time, and that he may needed to send me a gut check, like hey, Manny, you are breakable. You are not perfect. Like you can fail. So whenever and tough times can be very small. They could be me messing up in the jet on a button, right? Or maybe if I think in the SEAL world, like a misspeak on my lesson, right? That could be a tough time. But as soon as I control it, don't let it happen, then learn from it, and then move on. You can't sit in them for a long time. I think I used to, and you probably there too, where we sat in it for a long time, That's why I just love to embrace those tough times, move on, because I've also, and I tell my kids this all the time, nobody cares what happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to forget what happened. You get a bad grade, dude, nobody cares. Because the next day, nobody's going to remember you got a bad grade. I mess up in the jet, they're going to care right there, but when we land, I guarantee you they do not care anymore. Most people sit on that stuff for a long time. Let's say it's a really bad situation, right? Let's say you got a DUI and you're like, oh my God, this is going to ruin my career. Like when it happened to me, that time when it happened, I let it sit and stew for so long. Now, the best thing I probably could have done is just like, cool, it happened. Tell the people important to me it happened, because I look at now and nobody cares. Like I thought it'd be held over my head the rest of my life. It was probably only held over my head for 5 months after it happened. Besides my wife and I going through all the crazy like driving and money stuff we had to pay, which was ridiculous. But as soon as it was cleared, like nobody cared.
Mm-hmm.
We think people are going to care about our mistakes way more than they do. But they don't care. Unfortunately, I don't want people to think like, oh, nobody cares about me. They care about you, but they know it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, so short little tangent, but one I think a lot of people need to hear.
Yeah, a good one, healthy one.
Yeah.
My little tangent off of that, just to be a little encouraging as well, is when we're thinking about our faith, and I think about trials and tribulations that we will be faced with, two things can happen. Satan is tempting you, or God is testing your faith. And I fear God, and I have God in my heart. So Satan doesn't win. He doesn't have permission. So the victory is God's, and we get to have our faith tested through every trial that God will give us. And the other thing I wanted to mention was, we're talking about like nobody cares. Like, I want people to be encouraged by that. Yeah. When I was in Texas and I sought out, I think that's how you say it. Yeah, I went to mental health. There was this, this thought in my mind, my career is going to be over. The moment I go to mental health, I'm going to be signing my life away and they're going to kick me out. Nope, not at all. Not at all. It's never been held against me, ever. Yeah. I'll go to my annual checkups, and flight docs will ask, like, hey, man, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. They're like, all right, cool, sweet. See you in a year. Okay, cool, good story. So that's how it goes. So if anyone is encouraged by that, then that makes me happy. But cool, man. I know that we could just keep on talking, and I know that it would be healthy and awesome, but I do appreciate you, again, accepting the invitation and having this quality conversation. It was awesome. Yeah. For those that are listening and they want to stay connected with you, for your Instagram, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Manny Mustache? Okay, cool. Manny Mustache on Instagram. Sweet. Yeah. All right, brother. Well, until next time, keep crushing life. And for those of you tuning in, thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. Until next time, everybody. Peace, love, keep it real.